In the bustling heart of New York City, where skyscrapers pierced the clouds like arrogant fingers reaching for the heavens, Alexander Thorne sat alone in his penthouse office, staring out at the endless sea of lights below. Paralyzed from the waist down after a tragic car accident 5 years ago, the billionaire CEO of Thorne Enterprises had built an empire from the ashes of his shattered dreams. His wheelchair was both his throne and his prison, a sleek, custom-made machine that whispered of power but screamed of isolation. Success had come at a cost. Friends faded, relationships crumbled, and now at 45 he was the richest man in the room, but the loneliest soul in the city. Little did he know on this rainy autumn evening, a chance encounter would shatter his fortified world. It started with a simple errand. Alexander's driver had pulled up to a modest coffee shop in the Bronx, a place far removed from his usual haunts of Michelin-starred restaurants. He needed a break from the sterile boardrooms, a taste of something real amidst the artificial glow of his life. As he maneuvered his wheelchair through the door, the bell jingled like a forgotten melody. The shop was cozy, filled with the aroma of fresh brews and the chatter of locals. That's when he saw her, Maria, a young woman in her early 20s, wiping down tables with a worn apron tied around her slender frame. Her clothes were threadbare, her shoes scuffed from endless shifts, but her eyes held a spark that could light up the dimmest room. She was poor, scraping by on minimum wage to support her ailing grandmother in a tiny apartment nearby. Yet she moved with a grace that belied her struggles. Their eyes met as Alexander ordered his black coffee, his voice clipped and efficient, accustomed to commanding respect. Maria smiled warmly, handing him the cup with hands calloused from hard work. "Rough day?" she asked, her accent carrying the soft lilt of her Mexican heritage, a reminder of the family she had left behind in a small village south of the border. Alexander grunted a non-committal response, but something in her kindness made him linger. As he turned to leave, a sudden downpour trapped him at the entrance. Maria noticed and rushed over with an umbrella she could ill afford to lend. "Here, take this." "You don't want to get soaked," she said simply. He hesitated, unused to such unprompted generosity. In that moment, she glanced at his wheelchair and, without pity or judgment, added, "You know, senor, I've seen people like you before. My abuela taught me that the body is just a vessel. If you let me, I'll help you walk again." Alexander laughed bitterly, shaking his head. "Walk? I've spent millions on doctors, therapies, experimental treatments. What could a girl like you possibly do?" He never believed it, not then, not in the days that followed. But fate, or perhaps the quiet persistence of human connection, had other plans. Maria didn't push. She simply appeared in his life like a gentle breeze. The next day she returned the umbrella he had forgotten to give back, showing up at his office building with a determined stride. Security tried to turn her away, but Alexander, intrigued by her audacity, waved her in. "Why are you here?" he demanded, his tone laced with suspicion. She sat across from him, her eyes steady. "Because I meant what I said. Not with medicine or money, but with heart. In my village, we believe in the power of the spirit. Let me show you." Reluctantly, he agreed to meet her after work, more out of curiosity than hope. What harm could it do? He was a man who had everything except belief in miracles. Their meetings began innocently enough, in parks, cafes, places where the world felt less imposing. Maria shared stories of her life, growing up in poverty, crossing the border as a child with her family, the endless hustle to send money home. She spoke of kindness as a currency richer than gold, of how her grandmother had healed neighbors not with pills, but with empathy and community. Alexander listened, at first dismissively but slowly. Her words chipped away at his cynicism. He opened up about the accident, the screech of tires, the pain that never fully faded, the boardroom battles where vulnerability was a weakness. One evening, as they sat by the Hudson River watching the sunset paint the water in hues of orange and pink, Maria took his hand. "Walking isn't just about legs, Alex. It's about moving forward in life. You've been stuck, not because of the chair, but because you've forgotten how to trust." He pulled away, an unexpected turn stirring anger in him. "You think you know me? I've built empires while people like you serve coffee." But her calm response disarmed him. And yet, here we are, both needing something the other has. As weeks turned into months, their bond deepened. Maria introduced him to her world, The vibrant Latino community in the Bronx, where fiestas echoed with laughter and music, where neighbors shared meals despite having little. Alexander, who had dined alone in his mansion for years, found himself at crowded tables tasting homemade tamales and hearing tales of resilience. One unexpected twist came when Maria revealed her own secret. She was an aspiring physical therapist, studying at night after her shifts, driven by her grandmother's arthritis that had left her bedridden. "I help others because no one helped us," she confessed. Alexander, moved, offered to fund her education anonymously, but she refused. "That's not why I'm here. I want to earn it like you earned your success." Her selflessness humbled him, a profound realization dawning. His wealth had isolated him, while her poverty had connected her to humanity's core. The turning point came during a stormy night. Alexander's company faced a crisis, a hostile takeover bid that threatened everything he had built. Stressed and confined to his penthouse, he lashed out in frustration, wheeling around like a caged animal. Maria arrived uninvited, soaked from the rain, carrying a small box. "I brought something from home," she said. Inside was a pair of handmade crutches carved by her uncle, symbols of support from her village. But more than that, she brought a plan, not magical but grounded in compassion. She had researched holistic therapies, combining physical exercises with mindfulness, drawing from her cultural roots in herbal remedies and communal healing circles. "Trust me," she urged. Skeptical, Alexander agreed to try. Day by day, she guided him through sessions, gentle stretches, meditation under the stars, stories of saints and survivors from her heritage that inspired perseverance. An unexpected turn unfolded when Alexander discovered Maria's grandmother was gravely ill, needing surgery she couldn't afford. He could have written a check, but instead he chose to immerse himself in her world. He visited the cramped apartment, met the frail woman who spoke only Spanish, and through a translator, heard tales of Maria's childhood sacrifices. In a moment of profound realization, Alexander saw his own paralysis mirrored in their struggles, not physical but emotional. "I've been walking on money but stumbling in life," he admitted to Maria. That night he anonymously arranged for the surgery, but more importantly, he committed to change. He began funding community programs in the Bronx, inspired by Maria's selflessness, turning his empire toward philanthropy. The emotional climax arrived on a crisp spring morning, 6 months after their first meeting. Alexander had made progress, subtle at first, twitches in his legs from the therapies, but profound in spirit. They stood in Central Park, surrounded by blooming cherry blossoms, a symbol of renewal. Maria handed him the crutches. "Now walk with me, not alone." Tears in his eyes, Alexander rose shakily, supported by the wooden aids, and